Hey guys, hoping you can hear me. Uh, I've got the clock and the holding card, and I did have music, but it's gone again. Welcome back to Yas Marina circuit here in Abu Dhabi, ready for the second race of the weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. And the cars already out on the grid in some bright morning sunshine, ready for this second encounter here in Yas Marina. Race distance is 14 laps with a maximum time cut-off of 30 minutes, which we have not had to use so far. So hopefully everything will be full of entertainment again during the course of today. Well, welcome back, everybody. Looking down here at Robert de Haan on pole position. As you can see, qualifying held in mild conditions, just 20 degrees now. The air temperature up to 25. Track temperature has gone from 20.5 to 26.5 degrees, or close on. And so conditions very much more difficult for the tyres than they were in qualifying. But I'm sure the drivers will have factored that into their setup for the race. And the engineers as well, having had experience of racing here, will have plenty of knowledge of what to do. Well, let's catch up with our drivers on the grid. Zara Faruqi is down amongst them.
Thank you, Martin Haven. It's great to be on the starting grid of the Yas Marina circuit. We're here with race 2. Yesterday was thrilling. Today is going to be more exciting. And then I have a special guest with me. It's Robert Lechner, the head promoter of Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. Robert, how are you feeling about the overall series and what have you been seeing so far?
Yeah, hi Sarah. Hi everyone. Here on track at the Yas Marina circuit and everyone watching back home live. Welcome to second race here. Super conditions. We have great weather. We saw a very exciting qualifying session with Robert de Haan, yesterday's winner on pole position again. But championship contender Caleb Sumich from Australia also on the front row. So I expect a very exciting race off the line.
Thank you so much, Robert. We'll catch up with you soon during the podium, but now let's go and check out the drivers and get a few words about how they're feeling. So starting with Robert de Haan, who was the P1 winner of yesterday's race. Robert, if I can get a quick few words again, how are you feeling going into today's race?
Yeah, feeling good. Same place as yesterday, so that's a good view. Yeah, we'll just try and focus on the start this time, and yeah, let's see what happens in the race.
Well, Robert, thank you so much. I hope to see you back on P1. Best of luck to you and your team. And if we go down the track, the conditions today, a bit hot down here, Martin. I am also getting really excited, nervous for these drivers, but so much excitement is going to happen on the track. We see so many spectators, so many team supporters, and just to see how crowded it is to here, it just makes everything more exciting. Now going to Caleb Sumich, who is currently on the championships, and this is going to be a tight match for Caleb and Robert de Haan. So if we can just go around here to grab a quick word with Caleb Sumich, who's giving a thumbs up to our mascots. Caleb Sumich, how are you going into the race? Is this race about protecting P2, or is it about pushing through and attacking?
Yeah, definitely. Robert's very fast, so we just need to latch onto the back of him and try to have a nice clean race. Most importantly, the start needs to be good. But Robert's not in the championship fight, so we need to focus on our own race and bag some good championship points.
Well said. So thank you so much, Caleb. Best of luck for your drive and everyone out here today. That's all from my end. Martin, I'm going to pass it back on to you. But before that, everyone here, you should follow our Instagram, Carrera Cup ME, and also check out the live on the YouTube channel. And leave a comment, and can't wait to see who wins P1.
Zara, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, Caleb Sumich is correct that Robert de Haan, having only just joined the series this weekend, is not a championship contender, but he will score points, and will score points, importantly, for 7x7 Racing. And after yesterday, the team claiming a 1-2, doing really well in the championship standings for teams. So Robert de Haan starts on pole position with Caleb Sumich alongside, and Caleb will be really eager to try and stay ahead of his arch championship rival on row 2 of the grid, Taichi Watarai. Taichi currently with the points lead. He starts third, and alongside him, Alexandra Vateva. Now, Vateva spent the last 2 or 3 races following predominantly Saud Al Saud, but the Saudi racing driver starts behind her. There he is, 5th on the grid with his teammate Khaled Al Ahmadi in 6th position. Khaled finishing in 3rd place yesterday, his 4th consecutive podium finish. Max Muchlechner and Cedric Chassang start on row 4 of the grid. Cedric alone in the Pro-Am category. He won't worry about that too much. He'll be busy battling with Max and with the drivers behind him, predominantly Josh Berry, the 16-year-old driver in the number 7 car, and Krista Andero, who is at the front of the Masters field. Andero starting on the Masters pole position, 10th on the grid on the outside of row 5. And our newcomer, Rawad Sariadin, has had a really good qualifying this morning. He lines up 2nd in Masters ahead of Peter Brecker. And Brecker also on the Masters podium yesterday with Mark J. Thomas 13th and Nikola Petrovic, the Serbian driver, in 14th place on the grid. So that is how they line up for the start of the second race. And as Robert de Haan was saying, he's going to focus on the start because although he started from pole position yesterday, he did not lead into turn 1, did not make a great start, and was out-dragged comprehensively by the man who was on pole position, his teammate Taichi Watarai. So why is Robert de Haan here for the first time this weekend? Well, he's not actually with Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East for the first time. He has been a driver coach over the last few races this season. But because the regular driver of 66, the Japanese driver Banksy, is in a clashing race in the Asian Le Mans series, he can't be in 2 places at once. Even Banksy can't be in 2 places at once. And so he's doing the Asian Le Mans series, and Rob de Haan is in the number 66 machine, and there he sits on pole position. Drivers with the doors open as the final mechanics leave the cars. Now, unlike single-seaters, these cars do have, as your road car does, a battery and a starter motor, and so they should be able to start their own engines. Single-seaters do not carry things like batteries and starter motors because they're not actually, quote, cars. They are a different sort of racing machine. So you will normally see for a grid of even from Formula 1 right the way down to something like Formula 4, the junior categories, there will be a slave battery or a remote starter to fire the engines up, but these cars do not need that assistance. So last of our engineers leaves the grid, and we'll be ready to send the cars away for a final formation lap of the circuit. So they've left the pit lane, they've driven round to the grid, and now one last chance to take a look at the track. And in most conditions, actually, it's going to be exactly the same as it was 15 minutes ago when they left the pit lane and drove round. But this is particularly useful if the weather has changed in any way between leaving the pit lane and sitting on the grid and then getting ready to start the race. If, for instance, it has started to rain or indeed stopped raining, that sort of thing. In these conditions, though, not much in the way of rain to worry about. So the countdown continues on the main clock. We've gone from 3 minutes to go to 2 minutes to go, and then we will send the cars out on their final formation lap. So on that last lap, as to a degree they will have tried to do from the pit lane to the grid, the drivers will focus on trying to build heat into the tyres. For those of you who watched qualifying earlier, or indeed yesterday, you will have seen going out of the pit lane with no tyre warmers in this category, as in almost every FIA category now, there is the need to warm your tyres up. 1 minute board being shown from the starters gantry on the left-hand side. And at the end of that 1 minute, we will see the green flag waved for the final formation lap before the race. So the green lights go on and the green flag is waved. Now, this is not a full racing start. However, it is an opportunity, particularly for Robert de Haan, to just gauge what revs he's going to need to get away from the grid without stalling the engine or almost stalling the engine. And the other thing that you have the opportunity to do is to do a little bit of a wheel spin from your grid position and leave some fresh rubber on the road. Why would you do that? Well, because chemists assure us and racing driver experience teaches us that tyres grip rubber better than tarmac. And so that's why drivers stay on the rubbered up racing line when conditions are dry, because there is more grip rubber to rubber than rubber to bare untried tarmac. And of course, off the racing line, the tarmac also tends to be maybe a little bit dustier, a little bit more debris from tyre wear and so on off the racing line. But if you leave a pair of stripes from your rear tyres in your start box, and as long as you can line up on those stripes, then that will give you just a fraction of extra grip away from the start. And motorsport is all about fractional gains. These cars are identical when they roll out of Weissach, the Porsche factory. They are identical in every way. They have the same engine, they have the same chassis, they're running on the same Michelin tyres. So it's only subtle adjustments to the cars that are tailored to suit the driver, what he needs, what works best for him. That's what setting up these cars is all about. You don't start with a box of bits and go, oh, I wonder where this part goes. That's one of the joys for a driver or a team, is that when you buy a racing car from Porsche and either it's delivered or you, in some cases, go to Weissach and pick it up, when they hand you the key, that is a complete car. All you need to do is literally add fuel and it will go. So formation lap almost completed. They're heading around the hotel and media centre complex here at Yas Marina through 13 and 14 and heading up very slowly this time to corner 15 and 16, the last two corners on the circuit. And again, accelerator, brake, accelerator, brake, accelerator, brake, and as strong as you can, pushing the power against the brakes, because heating the brakes is not only important to get them up to operating temperature or as close to operating temperature as you can before the run down to the first corner, but heating the brakes heats the wheels, and that helps to keep heat in the carcass of the tyre. So all of the weaving side to side just puts load through the tyre and helps to warm it up, and hopefully you will have good grip and also good braking. So the medical car completes the lap at the back of the field. Everybody has made it to the grid. We'll see the man walk across the back of the grid with the green flag, and then the starting sequence will commence. So drivers must be in their grid box, the painted grid marks on the grid. And the intention is that you go through those grid marks at the start of the race. But once you've left your grid position, then you can move wherever you want on the track. Right, we are seeing a second formation lap. There's a yellow flag being waved. Didn't look like the starting gantry was working correctly. Those flashing red lights should not have been there. We should have gone to a completely non-illuminated gantry and then started our countdown with the red lights going on and eventually off to start the race. So somebody has quickly decided to send everybody off on a second formation lap, which fills the time a little bit and stops the cars sitting there overheating or potentially overheating. What it does, however, is use up, well, not quite a lap's worth of fuel, not at racing pace anyway, but some of a lap's worth of fuel. Now, when you go and fill up your road car, you probably do exactly that. You fill the tank, and then when it's empty, you fill it again. this isn't quite the same. This is not cars being filled in the pit lane for an indeterminate time. They will have been fueled up to go to the grid, to do a formation lap, to do 14 race laps and 1 lap back to the pit lane. So they will have been fueled up for 14 full bore laps plus 3 at probably something like 50 to 60% of your normal race pace consumption. Adding another lap starts to edge you into the territory where you may not necessarily have allowed fuel for that. Now, what we're not saying is that cars are going to run out of fuel before the end of the race. However, in most categories, you need to have fuel left in the tank so that it can be measured and monitored. And so that will have to be taken into consideration as well. So hopefully in the interim, somebody has Control-Alt-Delete restarted the lighting system. Either that, or we may have to be waved away at the start of the race. The other option will be, as they used to do in the old days before we had lights, will be to raise and then drop the national flag. Now, just being notified by the stewards, we are now a 13-lap race distance. Remind me when I lose track of that once the action starts. So because the extra formation lap, they have subtracted a lap from the race distance. Not that that was a racing lap, but again, as I said, it uses fuel and the cars are not brimmed before the start. So now we have the green flag. Will we get the light sequence, or will the drivers be looking to the starter's gantry for a flag? There are the lights. 5 red lights will go on, and when they go off, we will be racing in Abu Dhabi. It was a quick change and a good start this time for Robert de Haan. Taichi Watarai again. He is exceptional away from the grid. Switch around the outside of Kevin Sumich, and that will then lead onto the inside in turn 2 and 3. Well, the exit of turn 2 into turn 3. And he is still inside Caleb Sumich. The battle for second behind Robert de Haan. I actually thought maybe Taichi Watarai would be challenging de Haan. They come down to turn 5. Sharp left hairpin. And de Haan has to defend on the inside. Sumich on the inside. On the outside is Watarai. He runs out wide over the curbs. There'll be dirt on his tyres, but it keeps that momentum alive. And he comes down the straight. He's in the slipstream behind Robert de Haan. Caleb Sumich on his own on the driver's left-hand side. Sumich still on the inside. The next corner is also a left-hander. A sharp left-hand hairpin. Watarai around the outside. And on the inside, through into turn 7 to second place. Well, it took him half a lap to make that move stick on Caleb Sumich, and it may not yet be over. But again, he's starting to look at Robert de Haan, the race leader. Taichi Watarai, his first lap pace is always impressive. He's so aggressive on colder tyres, and it almost always works in his favour. Place is made up on the opening lap. Take a long time for somebody else to get back. So Taichi Watarai from third on the grid up to second place. Robert de Haan, the poleman, is our leader, and Caleb Sumich losing ground to the man who he really needed to beat here in the yellow and black machine. Alexander Vateva is fourth. Saud Al Saud in fifth place, and it looks like Max Much-Lechner got ahead of Khaled Al Ahmadi. Little incident at corner 14. Somebody bringing out the yellow flags briefly, but the leader is across the line. De Haan from Watarai, then the red and yellow of Sumich, the blue of Vateva. Saud Al Saud, the first of the green and white Saudi racing cars. And Max Much-Lechner did make it up into sixth place, ahead of yesterday's third place finisher, Khaled Al Ahmadi. Looks as though we may have had a little incident at the tail of the field. Yellow flags have been withdrawn, however. We are green, green, green everywhere. And as they come down the back straight for the second time, Robert de Haan was only half a second in front at the line. There's a little battle going on. I think Josh Berry and Cedric Chassang just coming under the bridge. Yeah, look at the background. Chassang trying to look down the inside of Josh Berry. Not close enough. And Taichi Watarai not close enough to Robert de Haan either to try anything at the end of the straight into corner 6. And as we saw yesterday, when de Haan got back in front of the fast-starting Watarai, once he had got by, he was able to start opening up a margin. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 0.36. Watarai, 2 minutes 0.90. And those are the only two drivers to have their first racing lap under the 2 minute 1 second mark. So Caleb Sumich in third, Alexander Vateva in fourth, only a whisker slower than Watarai, but they were slower. But Vateva closing in on Sumich down these long, fast Sector 2 straights. And so she closes in on the man in third place as Robert de Haan eases away. De Haan looking for another faster lap here. Purple Sector 1, green Sector 2, purple Sector 3 across the line. 155.25, 155.60 behind him for Taichi Watarai. Caleb Sumich in third, 55.83 and a 55.93 for Alexander Vateva. Behind her, Saad Al Saud in fifth, a 56.3, so 4 tenths slower than Alexander Vateva on that last lap. And behind, Max Much-Lechner coming under pressure from Khaled Al-Ahmadi. Al-Ahmadi didn't make it through there into turn 5. And you can see chasing them, Josh Berry and Cedric Chassang. Chassang, the back of the car we're looking at now. As they come under the bridge, it is still the dark silver car of Much-Lechner. And Josh Berry going defensive. Much-Lechner going very defensive there from Ahmad Al-Ahmadi. And that means Al-Ahmadi out of turn 7 is closer. Taichi Watarai in second place, being kept honest by Caleb Sumich. And here is Much-Lechner. Al-Ahmadi right behind him now. And Max Much-Lechner, the Italian driver in the silver and turquoise car, going very defensive down into turn 6, and that will have cost him. And behind, Cedric Chassang still trying to get by Josh Berry. So we've got a battle for 6th, and right behind them a battle for 8th position. The silver and turquoise car with the green and white right behind. That's the battle for 6. Max Much-Lechner and Khaled Al-Ahmadi. And Al-Ahmadi all over the back of Much-Lechner. See Much-Lechner, yellow second sector, not as good as he had previously produced, because going offline and very defensive into corner 6 slowed him through that 6-7 transition. He would have been better off trying to keep his speed up, though he didn't want to leave the door open to Khaled Al-Ahmadi. Josh Berry behind, similarly with Cedric Chassang. Although Chassang was a little closer, Berry didn't go so defensive, kept his speed up. Al-Ahmadi looking to try and get by, and again, very defensive from Much-Lechner. Goes in shallow into corner 5. That's going to leave him slow on the long back straight. Here's the opportunity that Khaled Al-Ahmadi has been waiting for, and behind Cedric Chassang, also very close indeed to Josh Berry. So the lead 5 all spaced out nicely, but here comes the battle behind. Much-Lechner again going very, very defensive very early, and that's going to allow Ahmadi to try and cut back underneath him out of corner 7. The Saudi driver with a much better run. Take a look back, and again Much-Lechner almost on the white line, really feeling the pressure here. Al-Ahmadi turns in tighter into corner 9. There's the move, and through he goes. He judged that really well, forced the defensive errors out of Max Much-Lechner, and took advantage in turn 9. That's exactly what Cedric Chassang is going to need to do, I think, to Josh Berry in the battle for 8th place. So Al-Ahmadi sneaking through in turn 9 as the 5 cars in front continue to stretch away. But now that yesterday's 3rd place finisher has been released from behind the Italian, or has managed to find his way through at any rate, Max didn't exactly wave him by. I expect to see him pick up pace and close on teammate Saud Al Saud in 5th place in the identically liveried number 3 machine. So turning our attention back to the leaders, Rob de Haan, Taichi Watarai 2 seconds apart now. Caleb Sumich a second behind Watarai. He can't match the Japanese driver's yellow and black machine for pace, and Alexander Bateva similarly is a second behind Caleb Sumich. So they are all spread out a little. 1.7 back to Saud Al Saud, and then 1.8 at the beginning of the lap from Saud Al Saud to his green and white car teammate Khaled Al Ahmadi. We will wait to see how that 1.88 seconds between Al Saud and Al Ahmadi changes. Josh Berry still holding on to 8th place ahead of Cedric Chassang. Haven't talked at all about the Masters category, which is very remiss of me, because we have had a change. Peter Brecker is the leader from Krista Andero, with Mark Thomas and Nikola Petrovic. And what we are not seeing at the moment is the number 37 car, and that may have disappeared in that incident. Yeah, it did. So our Lebanese driver Rawad Sariadin dropping out in that early incident. Taichi Watarai in 2nd place. Caleb Sumich starting to bring that margin down now. Watarai dropping to 3 seconds behind the leader, but only half a second ahead of Caleb Sumich. In fact, only 4/10. Khaled Al Ahmadi has taken 6/10 out of Saud Al Saud. So battle's shaping up here for 2nd place and potentially for 5th place as well. And Caleb Sumich needs to find a way by Taichi Watarai. Sumich, who retired after contact in race 2 in Bahrain. 1st and 2nd in Qatar, 2nd and 1st in Dubai. But Watarai already with 3 wins and 2 second places has the points advantage. He's not going to be able to do anything about Robert de Haan, the race leader. De Haan way too far ahead now, and Watarai will have to try and cling on to 2nd place. Sumich seems to have more in terms of race pace at the moment, but he is slightly stuck behind the Japanese. Went 6/10 quicker on the previous lap to close the margin down from over 1 second to barely 1/3 of a second. And it's now hovering around that half-second mark. So Watarai is not physically or deliberately controlling the pace of Sumich, but Sumich can't perhaps go as quick as he might do because Watarai is right in front of him. So he's going to have to do what Taichi Watarai has shown himself to be so good at doing, which is invent somewhere to get past. Talked about this a little yesterday, and certainly in the races we've seen this season, Watarai has been an aggressive driver, a combative driver, but also an inventive driver. And that's a greatly underrated part of a racing driver's armoury, the ability to think of new ways of getting by somebody. There will be parts of any circuit which are accepted and obvious overtaking opportunities. And here, it's at the end of the long back straight down into turn 6. If you can make something happen, as he did on Caleb Sumich, by running alongside him from the start line all the way to turn 4, then you can make things happen for yourself. The gap between the 2 green and white cars, the Saudi racing drivers, is coming down. Saud Al Saud only 1.1 ahead of Khaled Al Ahmadi at the beginning of the lap. I think that gap is shrinking. Alexandra Bateva in 4th place, a little bit on her own in the splendid yachting machine, car number 1. And then the 2 Saudi drivers with Max Muchlechner. And there has been a change behind because Cedric Chassang got ahead of Josh Berry on the previous lap. We didn't see that happen. If we did, I was watching something else. Max Muchlechner on the inside here, trying to find a way back past Khaled Al Ahmadi. I talked about being inventive, and that's a decent place to try it on the run down into turn 9. But actually, Al Ahmadi was not being defensive enough for the good of Max Muchlechner and kept his speed up through that long run, through from corner 8 to corner 9. So he managed to keep his nose firmly in front. Taichi Watarai, half a second ahead of Caleb Sumich. And that tends to be about the gap between these cup cars when they are running close together. You can close up if you come with speed to under half a second, but staying more than half a second, less than half a second behind a rival is very difficult indeed. These cars are not as aero-sensitive as a modern single-seater, but they do require a clean airflow to generate the downforce and the grip that they need. And without that, then you struggle a little. Investigation of the race start of Peter Brecker and Cedric Chassang. So the intimation there, potentially, that they may have not started either in their grid boxes, so wheels potentially on or over the side lines or the front line of the box. It's a U-shaped box. Or that they may have gone a little early. And contact between car number 1, Alexandra Vateva, and car number 14, Caleb Sumich, at turn 9 under investigation. Well, we didn't see an awful lot of contact between them, and that, again, you would assume would have been on the opening lap. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Cedric Chassang with the orange highlights on the black and white car. Chassang, the Pro-Am driver. This is going to put him into the Pro-Am points lead, with Sam Shaheen having raced in Bahrain and in Qatar, but not been in Dubai or Abu Dhabi. And with Banksy, who is a Pro-Am driver, also absent. And then that leaves the door open to Cedric Chassang to bag a hatful of points. And he's doing a good job there in 8th place as well. So what's the gap between Saud Al Saud and Khaled Al Khalifa? It's down under a second. It's about 0.8 of a second. Khaled Al Ahmadi, I beg his pardon. And Al Ahmadi bringing Max Muchlechner along with him for the ride. Caleb Sumich dropping away from Taichi Watarai. 4 laps remain after this one. Whatever contact there might have been between Alexandra Vateva and Caleb Sumich, the stewards have taken a look at the video, and there will be no further action on that one. But for Peter Brecker and also for Cedric Chassang, investigation over the start will be made, I would assume, after the race. Now, that might mean that Peter Brecker, who is currently leading in the Masters category, may have a penalty applied post-race. Brecker's only 1/3 of a second ahead of Krista Andero, so the gap in the Masters is smaller than this margin. Watarai was 1.2 seconds ahead of Caleb Sumich at the end of the previous lap. And it sounds like, or that would suggest, that Sumich has backed off a little bit. In the pit lane, Nikola Petrovic. So he may have had contact at the start of the race. He was certainly a long way back. And Caleb Sumich, if he is going to attack again, is going to need to do it pretty quickly. Taichi Watarai all season long has shown that he has got plenty of race pace and he can keep that pace up. Sumich is now starting to close a little. The gap halved from 1.2 to 0.6 seconds at the line. So as Alexander Vateva did 2 or 3 times recent races, and she was stuck behind Saud Al Saud, dropping back, allowing the temperatures to return to somewhat closer to normal, and then attacking again. When you're in the turbulent air, very close to arrival, that makes your tyres work harder, your brakes stay warmer, hotter, and occasionally get too hot. Tyres can overheat, cooling systems can overheat as well. And so it does pay occasionally to drop back a little. That gives you a bit of mental respite, but it also unfortunately gives your victim, or your hoped intended victim, a little bit of mental respite as well. So plenty of time still on the clock, a 30-minute maximum time allowance for the race. And there will be 3 laps to go after this. Taichi Watarai still hanging on to second place. Cedric Chassang last time round, fastest lap of his race. And Caleb Sumich closing in still on Taichi Watarai. And he needs to judge this finally, actually, as Watarai gets out really close to the barriers on the exit of turn 13, turn 14. Caleb Sumich needs to be not too close until they get to turn 5, and at that stage he needs to be almost putting the nose of his car up the exhaust of Taichi Watarai. He needs to be coming up behind Watarai into turn 5 with as much closing speed as he can manage. So through turn 3 and 4 they come now. Sweeping downhill through turn 4. And Caleb Sumich needs to judge this to perfection. He's a little far back coming down into turn 5. All that's going to happen on the straight is he gets in the slipstream and will close on Watarai, but he won't be close enough. And you saw actually a little dab on the brakes from Sumich as he came through past the apex of turn 5. It's exactly what he didn't want. Didn't want to take that momentum away. Ten laps completed by Robert de Haan, the race leader. He's on lap 11 of 13. So this plus 2 more. That means time is running out for Caleb Sumich. And time ticking down as well for Taichi Watarai. He doesn't need to be worrying about the time. Just keep going, keep your nose in front until you get to the checkered flag. That's going to be the critical thing. Watarai looking for yet another podium finish. Dubai was a little bit of a blip in his season. He did not finish on the podium in either race, although he qualified on pole for race 1 and on the outside of the front row for race 2. But there was contact in the lead battles on a number of occasions in both races. And so Taichi Watarai, a race weekend at Dubai Autodrome that he could have done without the number of incidents. Alexander Vateva in the blue splendid yachting machine car number 1, still comfortably circulating fast in 4th place. And very much free of Saud Al Saud and Khaled Al Ahmadi. And in fact, Ahmadi has utterly shaken off Max Mutzlechner. Now, we didn't see why or how Max Mutzlechner has dropped so far back. But he was over a second slower on the last lap, so you assume that he's made a mistake somewhere attacking Al Ahmadi. And Al Ahmadi, the second of these white and green cars now, is getting close to the position where he might be able to attack his teammate Saud Al Saud and move by for 5th place. So Watarai and Sumich 6/10 apart. 2 laps to go. And Taichi Watarai a little offline. Khaled Al Ahmadi right behind Saud El Saud. He's worked hard, first of all to get by Max Muchlechner, and then to close in on his teammate. And now he's in a position where he is desperate to try and get by immediately, not to get slowed down by Saud El Saud. 5-second time penalty for a false start. That's normally in race director speak, that means a jump start going before the lights had gone out. For 85 Peter Brecker and 42 Cedric Chassang. Last lap of the race, Robert de Haan is already on his way down to turn 5, and here is the battle for 5th position. Saud El Saud ahead of Khaled Al Ahmadi. Caleb Sumich 6/10 behind Taichi Watarai, so it seems unlikely that he's going to get there. And this is where the move might happen. Peter Brecker with Krista Andero right behind him, still in the Masters category. But Andero is probably not aware that Brecker has a penalty for that start. But Krista Andero does not actually have to try and get by Peter Brecker, but Al Ahmadi does. Shows his nose to Saud El Saud. He wasn't quite close enough, was he? And that's what the straight did. It brought him right in touch again. Down into turn 9, Taichi Watarai, Caleb Sumich and Alexander Vateva. And Saud El Saud defending hard into 9. Al Ahmadi's going to cut back on the inside. Robert de Haan is coming through the final couple of corners, but Khaled Al Ahmadi is on the inside of Saud El Saud, doing exactly to his teammate what he did to Max Muchlechner. Saud El Saud still there. Watarai going, Al Ahmadi rather, going around the outside. A very Taichi Watarai move, and he makes it stick. 2 corners to go. Race leader is coming towards the checkered flag. Rob de Haan is going to win race 2 here in Abu Dhabi, and does so by a handy margin over Taichi Watarai. Watarai in 2nd place, just under 8 seconds behind, with Caleb Sumich in 3rd, Alexander Vateva in 4th, and Khaled Al Ahmadi, after that last lap pass, takes 5th place away from Saud El Saud, with Max Muchlechner in 7th place. Cedric Chassang crosses the line in 8th, ahead of Josh Berry. Krista Andero in 10th place, ahead of Mark J. Thomas and Peter Brecker. So as they cross the line, Cedric Chassang with that 5-second penalty, and the same for Peter Brecker, going to affect Chassang's Pro-Am score. But once those penalties, time penalties are applied, may well drop him further down the order. Or has that penalty been applied? He just hasn't lost a place. I think the penalty has been applied, actually, because Peter Brecker has dropped down the order. But 7x7 racing, Robert de Haan, Taichi Watarai 1st and 2nd yesterday, 1st and 2nd today. Caleb Sumich losing out on the opportunity to try and put some points into his championship rival, Taichi Watarai. So Sumich following Watarai across the line, narrowly behind him, just 0.6 of a second back. Khaled Al Ahmadi finished in 3rd place yesterday, finishes 5th today. So that breaks his string of podium finishes. That goes back to race 2 in, no, it doesn't. It goes back to race 2 in Qatar. Finished 4th in race 1 in Qatar, not on the podium. But 5th in race 1 in Bahrain and 5th here are the 2 worst race results of the season for Khaled Al Ahmadi. Not bad at all. And the Saudi driver running out way out wide onto the runoff to try and pick up as much rubber debris and muck on the tyres as possible. Why? Well, he doesn't need them to race anymore, but the more muck that there is on the tyres, the heavier the car is. And also, if there is a layer of thick lumps of rubber between the tyre and the road, then that adds to the ride height of the car. It's all these things that you do to help keep the car as legal as possible, because the cars will be scrutineered after the race as well as after qualifying. So Robert de Haan substituting in for Banksy this weekend as the Japanese driver races in the Asian Le Mans Series, and with 2 race wins to his name, 2 pole positions as well for the driver coach. So the young Dutchman out of the car, and for the second time a race winner here at Yas Marina. Taichi Watarai also climbs out in his yellow and black race suit, taking second place. And Robert off to offer his congratulations. And third place finish on the podium for Australia's Caleb Sumich. He's a DHL team driver with 2 podium finishes last weekend in Dubai, and with a 4th and a 3rd place here. There he is in the yellow and red race suit. de Haan offering his congratulations as well. Khaled Al Ahmadi getting by Max Muchlechner and his teammate Saud Al Saud to pick up 2 spots during the course of the race and keep his strong championship season alive. He finished 5th behind Alexandra Vateva. So Pro-Am victory, Cedric Chassang, and the Masters win, going to Krista Andero after that time penalty for Peter Brecker. So there's your final result. And Rawad Sarayedin looks like he stopped on the 2nd formation lap and didn't take the start at all. Nikola Petrovic having to head into the pits midway through the race. So Robert de Haan, Taichi Watarai, Caleb Sumich, your podium finishers. And the top 6 rounded out by Alexander Vateva, Khaled Al Ahmadi, and his teammate Saud Al Saud. Max Muchlechner ahead of Cedric Chassang and Josh Berry, with Chris Randero winning in Masters from Mark J. Thomas and Peter Brecker. Nikola Petrovic will be hoping for a little bit better luck next time out. And next time out, the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East will be supporting Formula One. So it is time to have a brief pause from the action as we get to the beginning of February this morning. And then the drivers will be back in action. The final 2 race weekends will be as one of the support categories for Formula One. So an exciting race. Let's take a look at how it all played out. With temperatures having risen after qualifying, the race got underway with Robert de Haan taking the lead. Taichi Watarai from row 2 of the grid around the outside of front row starter Caleb Sumich, and making the move stick. Half a lap he took to get by. Later on, Khaled Al Ahmadi bottled up behind Max Muchlechner, but he forced the defensive error from the Italian to move up to 6th position and then set off after his own teammate. A race-long battle for 2nd place. Caleb Sumich kept at bay by Taichi Watarai, the top 2 in the championship standings, tussling for supremacy. But here, Watarai with the upper hand. Khaled Al Ahmadi closed on teammate Saud Al Saud, and on the final lap, a mistake by Al Saud allowed Al Ahmadi to get through and to take that 5th position, as Robert de Haan and Taichi Watarai again finished 1st and 2nd, with Caleb Sumich completing the podium in 3rd. So de Haan with a textbook race this time, got away cleanly at the start, was not passed by Taichi Watarai, but another excellent getaway from Watarai allowed him to challenge front row starter Caleb Sumich around the first 4 corners and eventually take 2nd place away, and he managed to hang on to that all the way through the remainder of the 13-lap race. So another successful and entertaining weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East. And as we said, a little bit of a hiatus now for a month or so until Formula One returns to the Gulf region. And then Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East will be supporting the Grand Prix in Bahrain and in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So on the Jeddah Corniche and the Bahrain International Circuit, plenty there to keep the drivers busy and entertained, and with an opportunity as well to watch what happens at the beginning of what is undoubtedly going to be a fascinating Formula One season. With so many rule changes in F1, it's only going to be a real lottery as to who comes out on top. Robert Lechner there with Rob de Haan. So Robert de Haan, the Dutch driver, with 2 wins here, and Walter Lechner Jr. Careful with those low punches. Walter Lechner Jr., Robert's brother, the pair of them run the Lechner Racing team together after the sad loss of their father, Walter Lechner, 3 or 4 years ago now. But this operation started by Walter Lechner when he was still a race driver himself. Walter Lechner Racing School, based in Austria, has seen an awful lot of young drivers come through its hands, and then the Walter Lechner Racing team has become absolutely a benchmark in terms of performance in the Porsche Mobil One Super Cup in Porsche One Make Racing. And for over 2 decades, they have been racing Porsches and organising Porsche races here in the Middle East. And that has culminated in being awarded the status of Porsche Carrera Cup. There are more than a dozen of them now globally, some single country entities, Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, France, Great Britain, Australia and so on, Italy, and some of them regional Carrera Cups, and this Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East keeping that proud tradition alive of Lechner Racing, providing great opportunity for close racing in fabulous machinery. With his back to us in the blue and multicoloured overalls is our newcomer this weekend, and Rawad Saradine from Lebanon, I think, has made a decent impression here. Has not had as much good luck as you might have hoped for, but he certainly had pace, qualified strongly, second fastest in the Masters category. It doesn't look to be too much damage on the car, so whether it was mechanical or, in this day and age, much more often an electric or stroke electronic issue, that sidelined him early on, not entirely sure. But coming here, qualifying, getting onto the grid, leaving the grid on the formation lap, and then not being able to start the race is a bitter pill to swallow. He seems fairly phlegmatic about it. I'm sure he's had a little time to process the emotions. But with one of the engineers getting into the car, it does seem as though it was likely an electronic issue. Now, whether he had no gear shifting or no throttle response or minimum throttle response, whether the car had gone into some sort of fail-safe get you home mode, not entirely sure. I have to say I'm not intimately knowledgeable about the electronic workings of a Porsche Cup car. But like most cars, racing cars as well as road cars, when things start to go critical, they do tend to have a bit of a, we'll shut all the systems down and you can try and limp home setting. It might well have been that that's what happened. Now, of course, the car moves. So poor Rawad has gone, oh, okay, all right, well. Again, potentially it may be related to a slight lack of familiarity with the cars, accidentally pressing a button on the steering wheel in combination with another button that you weren't aware you were pressing, sometimes has an odd effect. But whatever, hopefully he has been entertained enough by the opportunity to come here and race at Yas Marina that he will come back and do a little more of this. So while we wait for the final results to be confirmed, the time penalties have been added to Peter Brecker and Cedric Chassang's race times, and so that has had a material effect actually on the Masters category. Chris Randera, who was second at the line, is the Masters winner ahead of Mark J. Thomas and Peter Brecker. And we are ready, I believe, to start our podium ceremony. So let's catch up with Sarah Faruqi and see how we go.
To the podium of round 4 Yas Marina circuit. It's been a weekend. We've seen so much racing happening today and also yesterday. It has been a fantastic weekend and a fantastic 2 weeks in UAE to see the round 4 and 5 of the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 2026. I'm your podium presenter, Zara Faruqi. Thank you so much, Martin Haven, for taking it and giving us full-packed action about the races these past few rounds. Now, when we start the podium, there is a lot of awards to get through today, and congratulations to all the drivers, all the teams, and anyone who came here today to support our drivers. So before we begin, I would love to ask everyone to join us on our YouTube link, leave a comment, and also follow us on Carrera Cup ME on Instagram. Thank you for the support from Yas Marina Circuit, the organizers, and also the teams for working endlessly to make this happen. So before we get started, who's ready to see our podium finishers? Let's give it up for our overall third place winner. It is from DHL team, Caleb Sumich from Australia. Big cheer for Caleb Sumich. Performance was great throughout the weekend and also last week in Dubai. Sitting on our second place, who is also our rookie winner for today, we have no other than from 7x7 Japan, Taichi Watarai. And finally, a man that I will always remember because he has performed so well this weekend, and to have him to join the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 2026 in the Yas Marina round was very great to have. The one and only Robert Dehaan from 7x7. Big cheer for our podium finishers. They're gonna sit on that podium, taking the glory. Well done. And now we take a moment to listen to the national anthem of Netherlands for Robert Dehaan. Let's take a moment to listen. Big congratulations to our podium finishers today. Now we can call up to award these podium finishers. In first place, we will call up the National Sales Manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi, Ali & Sons, Rabi Kutay, to give our P1, Robert Dehaan, his award. Going on to our P2, the Marketing Manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi, Ali & Sons, it's Ahmed Darag. Now in our P3, we have no other than the COO, Splendid Yachting. It's Mr. Ernst Nassel. And I give you our top 3, our podium finishers for round 4 of Abu Dhabi Yas Marina Circuit, Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East 2026. Congratulations, let's give them a big round of applause. Now, moving on to calling up our Pro-Am category winner to join us on the podium. It is from Team GP Elite, Cedric Jasang. And then, again, to just re-announce that our rookie winner for today is no other than Taichi Watarai. Well done, amazing job. Let's call up the award givers. First we have in the Pro-Am category, can we call back Mr. Rabi Kotaich to give us our Pro-Am category winner, Cedric Jasang. Now calling on our rookie award giver, it is Fergus Lavers from the Safety and Track Operations Manager of Yas Marina Circuit. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much. And it's time to celebrate and rest up before your next few rounds upcoming in Bahrain. But before everyone leaves, if Robert Dehaan wants to join me on stage for a quick interview to understand, how are you feeling about the overall weekend? How was your experience down here in the Middle East about racing?
Well, for sure, as we can see, there's a nice temperature, sun is shining, so that's a lot better than at home where it's freezing at the moment. Yeah, no, very happy about the weekend. We did what we needed to do. We executed everything right, and yeah, thanks to 7x7 and Banksy Racing for inviting me, and maybe see you next time.
Hopefully we'll see more about you later on in the competition. But overall, I want to get your thoughts on the series. What makes this series so unique in the Middle East?
It's a very good preparation for drivers that want to do Porsche Mobile 1 Super Cup or going into Europe and racing Carrera Cup. It's a kind of winter series what prepares you the best way for an upcoming racing season.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for an amazing, brilliant weekend from you all. Thank you to the drivers, the teams, and hope to see you soon. Take care. Now, we go for a quick picture for all our winners. They're going to give big smiles. If everyone wants to come closer together. Big smiles. Everyone's a little bit tired from the endless racing this weekend. But well done. Congratulations to all these amazing drivers. Let's give it up, crowd. We can do so much better than this. Well done. It's great to see the spectators from down here. We are on top of the Yas Marina Circuit, and it's time to celebrate!
Well, congratulations to all our drivers, and well done to Sarah Faruqi as well.
The podium. Well done. Thank you so much. Soaking in that glory, and for doing such a great job. If now we go on to the next category, we have the Masters category. And in the Masters category, a lot of intense competition. But we call up our third place winner. It's from Peter Brecka, GT Sports Technology. Peter Brecka, the man, the legend. Well done, congratulations to you, GT Sports Technology, for an amazing performance. Going on to our second place in the Masters category, it's Mark J. Thomas from M3L, Canada. Big win for him, and seeing his name again on the podium, great to see that again. Now, in our first place, it is from M-Tech Competition Sweden, Christer Andero. Christer Andero has a big fan club at the bottom. Congratulations to all three Masters winners. Let's call back up our National Sales Manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi, Ali & Sons, Rabbi Kotaich, to go give our first place winner his award. Going on to our P2, the marketing manager of Porsche Center Abu Dhabi Ali & Sons, Ahmed Darag. Our P2, Mark J. Thomas from Canada, congratulations. Coming back to our P3, it's the COO of Splendid Yachting, Ernst Nassel. Big smiles up here. Great to see the sportsmanship, the team efforts, and just to see everything come together. Now, big cheers, big smiles for our Masters category winners. Let's give it up for them. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Now let's take a quick picture all together. Everyone up. Big smiles. Fantastic. Looking great, guys. Thank you so much. If you make your way now down the bridge so we can go to our GCC category. The GCC category to push motorsport in the MENA region and just to get more motorsport happening and spreading through out to the GCC. So we call up our second place in the GCC category from Saudi Racing and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's Saud Al Saud. Brilliant team, amazing team dynamic. I got a chance to speak to Paul Spooner, the team manager of Saudi Racing. Fantastic earlier on. Now we go on to our first place from Saudi Racing and from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It's Khalid Al Hamadi. Two brilliant drivers. Fantastic to see this MENA, this GCC region growing and to see these drivers step up. Now going to decorate our first place winner, it's going to be Rabai Kutaich from Porsche Center Abu Dhabi Ali & Sons. Going to our P2 is Ahmed Darag to decorate Mr. Saud Al Saud from Saudi Racing. Big win for them, and it was an intense battle between the two drivers, but just to see that sportsmanship and that they come out of it still strong as ever is great to hear. Thank you. If you want to step up for a quick picture, big smiles, big cheers, let's give it up for them. Great job. Thank you so much. Now, it's our last category winner. This is a very special award. It is the team winner. And the team winner is important to recognize because so many people behind the scenes are making sure that everything runs smoothly during race day. So we call up our team winner who has performed fantastically this weekend. It is from 7x7, Mr. Sunji Lee from Japan. Big win for the team. Their drivers ended in P1, P2 overall. They are going home with a big smile and they brought their entire entourage on stage. Love to see that. Congratulations, 7x7. Now to give our team award, it's Fergus Lavers, the Safety Track Operations Manager of Yas Marina Circuit. Unfortunately, the podium is not big enough to fit all the team support, but well done. Big cheers for them, and congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause, a big one, a big cheer for them. Congratulations, Team 7x7, and that wraps up. Oh, more team members joining. I think we're getting a group picture with everyone to really celebrate this race and this round in Yas Marina Circuit. Let's get everyone on stage. Everyone squishing in to smile side by side. It's great to see this family and this support and just being surrounded by such brilliant people. Big cheers for them. Let's give them a round of applause, everyone, together. Let's give them a big cheer for all their hard work and for everything. Congratulations. Thank you so much, everyone. Lovely seeing you this weekend. And I hope you go home enjoying that glory, enjoying that, the whole vibe of the weekend, and getting through this weekend was just intense racing and everything. But thank you so much for coming today, and coming also for the Yas Marina circuit for Carrera Cup and Middle East round 4. And now we have to end it, but I've been so excited to be here this weekend. I was your podium presenter and your pit lane presenter, Zara Faruqi, and Martin Haven commentating on the entire race. Thank you so much for having us here, and remember to follow our social media channels. And to everyone at Yas Marina Circuits, the organizers, Ali and Sons, the local support, Porsche importer, and anyone who's helping to join in and get into Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, thank you for your support. That's all from my end, and hope to see you in next round in Bahrain.
Okay, thank you very much indeed to Zara, and we will be back at the Bahrain International Circuit for the penultimate race weekend of Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, and that of course is where we started back in November, but this time it will be to support the Formula One World Championship, and that will be the second weekend of April. Races and qualifying from the 10th to the 12th of April. The following week they will move to Jeddah Corniche in Saudi Arabia. So across the peninsula from one side, from east to west. But there is another month to go until that, indeed 5 weeks until we reconvene. So from everybody in the Dubai Autodrome last week, here at Yas Marina in Abu Dhabi this weekend, thanks for being with us, and thank you so much to everybody in the production team for the pictures, the audio and everything else. It's been a delight to watch the racing again, and we look forward to 2 fantastic race weekends, 4 more races to go to decide our championships in the Pro, in the Pro-Am, in the Masters, and in the teams category, as well as the GCC. Until then, from everybody here from Yas Marina, it is goodbye for now.